Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Silver Savage podcast. This week, I'm sitting again for the second time with my friend Chris Stroup. Chris is a knife maker, former military special operations guy, and this week we talk more about the business side of it, how he's growing his business from when we met 3 years ago on episode 12 to where he is today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I had catching up with Chris and his wife Meagan on this special episode. So, Chris, for our listeners that are new to following the show, I would highly suggest go and listen to episode 12. We had Chris Stroup, one of our very first guests, over 2 years ago, man. Can you believe it has been that long?
Was that really? Holy cow.
Yeah, time flies. So, I obviously you and I have been in touch over the past 2 years and recently even more so. And a lot has changed. So, the first time we had you on, you and I barely knew each other, and it was mostly about your story, your military service, starting Stroup Knives. But really, now you're at a completely different level. And I want to kind of pick up where we stopped 2 years ago and see what it's like to run a successful business. What are some things that you're working on, some lessons you learned along the way, some failures, some successes. Is that cool by you?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it.
Awesome. So just to give some of our listeners, a little bit of background. We don't have to go as in-depth as last time, but a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, so I did 11 years in the Army in the special operations community. I got hurt my knees, my back, all the normal stuff. And then we decided to go full in on our knife company. When my oldest was maybe 7 years old, so about 6 or 7 years ago, we made our first couple of knives all by hand in the shop. So then when we got out, we decided, let's just see how far we can take this. So now we have a team of about 15 people, and it's growing almost weekly, it seems like right now. Yeah. And we have knives that ship all over the world. We have distributors in other countries and dealers all over the country. And we're just having a lot of fun now.
That's awesome. That's very cool. I did not know about your international outreach, man. That is unbelievable. So you and I connected at the time. Was a mutual acquaintance that I wanted to produce a knife I designed, and he put me in touch with you, and we made it, and I love it. I think that knife is an absolute beast, and I think the feedback you're getting is also pretty positive. So now we're actually working on a second design, kind of putting a teaser out there for some of the people. So if the first one was a working knife, the next one is more of a fighting knife. So I'm super excited about that. So over the past couple of years, I've seen you at SHOT Show, you doing all the blade shows. So you're all over the place now. How does that, first of all, preparing for a SHOT Show type event, which is huge for those that don't know. I mean, we're talking 70,000 attendees, they're over the Venetian, the Caesar's Palace, they're all over the place. It's a huge conference. How does it feel to be in something that big? I mean, did you think you would be at SHOT Show at some point, having a big booth across from people like Ferro Concept and other huge brands like that?
No, it's pretty crazy to think about it. And we're going to do it again. I don't know. It was almost surreal just setting up for it. And Ferro Concepts is a booth neighbor. That is wild. They're a giant company. And now we're on the same stage as them, right next to them, and doing the knife with them. And I don't know. It's just crazy how far this is going.
Right. And you mentioned you have a collaboration with Ferro. You're making a knife for them. You've been pretty big on collaborations recently, right? What are some other projects you're working on, if you don't mind sharing?
Let's see. What are the ones? No, I can't really talk about any of the ones in the works because they haven't been promoted yet.
Right.
So, but there's one that's already, no, two really big ones that are already confirmed. One of them is a really cool knife that we've been going back and forth for about 2 years on, and it's with a large gun company.
Okay, is that where you're gonna leave me, just hanging like that?
Yeah,
I get it. Okay, perfect. So I think you have your designs, which are awesome, and then I think your first big notable knife, the one that people actually started recognizing pretty quick, was actually the Bravo 5. Am I right? Because that's just because Justin was wearing it and promoting it. How did you get to make a knife for him, and how did that kind of evolve? Because you guys have a pretty tight relationship now.
Yeah, so he messaged me on Instagram one day when we were still pretty small.
How did you find out about you?
I have no idea. Justin knows everybody. But he just responded to one of my stories that I posted on Instagram. And I asked him, because I didn't know who he was. I was like, hey, man, how do you get so many followers on here? That's pretty cool. And he's like, well, it comes with being a TV star. Wow, you're on a TV show? That's neat. And then we just started talking, and I sent him a couple knives. I sent him the Mini, which is our littlest one, and then the TU2, which is a lot bigger. The TU2 is this guy right here. And then, and then that's the Bravo 5. So it's kind of, or the size of a Bravo 5.
This is the Bravo 5? I never know. This is the plastic one you make, Ben, which I absolutely love this thing.
It's modeled after the Bravo 5.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell Justin that I have his knife now. I love this thing, man. I have one right here in my office. It's always at hand's reach if I need to. And one of them is in my backpack at all times. I'm just waiting to forget it's there one day and go through TSA and see what happens. We'll find out. If I call for you to bail me out, you know why.
Yeah. So then we just did a knife together, and it went really well. And then he called me and said, hey, man, if you were a Navy SEAL, you'd be really good at telling your story, but you were in the Army, and you're really good at being quiet. So now he's a part owner of our company.
Oh, that is great. That's awesome. I forgot about that. You did tell me that. That's great. And Justin, for those that don't know, if you don't watch the show, SEAL Teams on CBS, they're coming out with the 7th and last season next week, I believe, right? Or August, sorry, in August.
Yeah, I think August.
I think soon, yeah. I think they're releasing tomorrow the official teaser. I just saw something pop on my social media. But he's on this show. And Justin also has a very interesting background. I mean, we did a podcast with him as well that people can check out. But he's a former police officer, if I remember correctly, from Indiana. I don't know. He got roped into that show, but so super nice guy. Man, that guy has so much energy. The two of you, I can see where you get along, because between the two of you, I mean, there's not enough Ritalin in the world to keep you guys down. So, you know, you have so many designs right now. How do you choose which projects to work on and which ones you're like, you know what, that's just not worth my time right now. There's other bigger projects that I should concentrate on. What's your system like in doing that?
Well, this is our newest one, the Mark II. That was designed by one of my friends who's a tier 1 operator, and he's still active duty. So he had a hand in designing the Mini a bunch of years ago also. And then he's done a bunch of testing and redesigns and things over the years. And we came up with that one. And that's his design that we're releasing. So it kind of filled the gap of more of just a combat knife, because it's sharpened, double-edged, kind of like a dagger. And it's just mean. It's not got a lot of utility purpose. So we have... Yeah, big time. And then now I have designs that I think of over time, and normally those go to collaboration projects, because collaboration projects are just a lot of fun to do.
So when you do a collaboration, do you, obviously, as you just alluded, you come up with a design? Does a company just come and say, listen, I want to make a knife. I want it to be a Stroup knife. Can you design something that fits our image or brand in a sense? And then you just go ahead and do so? Or do they come with already, we want this, can you just make it?
I've done it both ways. Or I've taken, a rough sketch and a purpose, like, what do you want this knife to be for? And then we combined our skill sets of what they think is going to work well for their audience with what I know is going to make a good knife. So and generally, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
It's normally kind of a collaboration between the two parties. There's there's always some revisions of back and forth where I'll design something and they're like, yeah, I really like it, but can we change this line here, or can we make it do this differently, or something? So that's why it's fun, is we get to work with other people and design back and forth together.
Right. I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when we first met or first chatted, your background is actually not in knife making. You learned a lot along the way, and you had some good mentors along the way. I remember at the time you said the people at Spartan were really good to you in terms of showing you kind of like the ropes and some of the things. So you've now been doing it for about 6 years. do you consider yourself to be more of an expert on knife making? Obviously better than you were before, but in the big world of knife making, where would you put yourself? If you're enjoying this episode, please go ahead and make sure to subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like it. And if you can, comment on this show. It does help our rating, which allows us to get in front of more people, bring some cooler guests for you guys to listen to, and overall benefit everybody around.
I guess knife making is kind of got a lot of different areas. You have like the master smiths that make beautiful works of art where they just make 1 or 2 a year. We focus on making a lot of really good knives. So I would say I'm an expert at making a lot of really good knives the way that we make them. But we've kind of developed our own way of doing everything. And we just really focus in on one part at a time. We just rearranged the whole shop last week again, just to make our workflow processes a little better.
Awesome. So you mentioned your shop. I remember when you started, it was a tiny little room and it was mainly you and maybe the kids there. And now you have a big, steel shed and the house next to it. And I know when I visited, it was sprawling out type thing, right? Were you and I discussed this, so I know the answer, but for purposes of our listeners, what are some of expansion or growth plans for Stroup Knives? What do you see in the next 5 years?
We're trying to release a line of kitchen knives for SHOT Show in January. That's our short-term project, and then we want to move into folders after that. I see that's a completely different technology, right? Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's a big long-term project.
So folders requires certain expertise in a sense, especially if you want to make them not break. So how do you go about finding the right people to come and help you bring that technology and bring those expertise in? Because I know as a business owner, a lot of our listeners are obviously entrepreneurs, right? As a business owner, for me to find the right people and have them do what they're really good at and not get frustrated and feel empowered to do so without being micromanaging them, that's always a challenge for me, right? How do you go about finding the right people? How do you feel about your management style?
So we have a pretty deep network of people everywhere in a lot of different areas. And I've already got a couple of people that are interested in engineering our folders for us and helping us get the machines picked out and everything. Because it's an expensive undertaking and it definitely takes the right person. So we're already talking to somebody that's interested in helping us through it. And we found that guy through our network of people, just a friend of a friend who's got the skills and has already done it for other knife companies.
Our friends of friends. That's always the best way to find people. But sometimes it bites you in the ass though, right? Because sometimes you think, okay, because I can trust my friend, I can trust his friend, but then it doesn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, so we've learned to heavily vet every person that we bring on board now. That was a big fail that we had, right? Is our shop wasn't going the direction we wanted it, kind of the culture and the way that everybody interacted, and it kind of went sideways and nobody liked being at work. So we've got 3 people that have been with us for over a year, I would say, and everybody else is probably, there might be 1 or 2 people that have been with us for 6 or 8 months, and everybody else is fairly new. But we've created more of a hands-on interview. So we tell them to wear work clothes and they spend half the day with us, and we make them do all the different processes, and we make sure that everybody fits in together. We make sure that they're weird enough to be able to be in a shop with us all day.
Nice.
So awesome. We've just gotten really picky about who we hire, and man, I can't say enough good things about our team right now. They are just crushing it.
That's awesome. It's all about the team at the end of the day, right? I know for me, the hardest transition was from a tactician or technician to a manager or business owner, right? So that's a hard transition to make when you're used to doing it all yourself and you know how you want it done, right? And now you have to learn to let go and trust people that they're going to do what they're good at, and I can concentrate on building the bigger vision. Kitchen knives. How'd you get into that?
Everybody likes kitchen knives. My wife's been asking for a kitchen knife set for ages, and so a lot of other people. We started doing a couple models in stainless steel of our own, and that was kind of the biggest hurdle that we hadn't cleared yet. So we're getting our processes dialed in for the stainless steel. So now it'll just be design a couple really good kitchen knives and start making them. There'll be a
Okay.
lot of different, it's kind of a different skill set, but it's pretty much in line with what we're already doing.
Okay. It sounds like it's a different market though than what you currently gear at, because the people that buy your utility knives and your fighting knives, obviously, not to be sexist or anything, but they're not the people that spend too much time in the kitchen. I may be wrong. I like cooking, but I don't know about some other people. So how does that change your direction of the company or the marketing? Are you just going to grow and have essentially two divisions, or are you just shifting over?
I haven't gotten that far yet. We've kind of been going around in circles on how to attack that. First, we just need to make them. And
Okay,
while
fair
we
enough.
start while we start making them, we'll develop the marketing plan. They're going to look similar to our knives. So I think there's going to be a lot of carryover between it. And then we do a couple local Christmas markets with just thousands and thousands of people come every year. So I'm planning on having some of those sets to bring to those markets just to get hands-on feedback from our regular consumers, and then kind of let that guide the direction we go in.
Very cool. I was so this is a question that I personally kind of intrigued. So you're obviously a veteran, and I know initially you liked hiring or getting people from that community, but some of them did not work out quite as great. So how is your relationship with the veteran community? Is it on one hand, I would assume they're a big market for you for the knives that you make, just being operators. On the flip side, they can always also be the biggest pain in the ass. So, what how are you navigating that? I'm asking you all the difficult questions today. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm not.
No, it's good. Let's see. So we mostly hire veterans just because that's what our community is here. But we used to not interview them as thoroughly because we're like, oh, they're veterans, they'll be fine. So now we just put everybody through the ringer the best we can and check references and kind of, make them work hard and get dirty before we'll bring them on. And then we ask the tough questions. Like, hey, are you do you have issues we're going to have to worry about? And we try and dig in a little bit and get to know them before we bring them on. And that's made a world of difference because it's weeded out a bunch of people.
Do you find they're being honest in answering those questions?
They have so far, from what I can tell, yeah.
Okay. That's good.
But our shop foreman is really good, and he's got a way with talking to people, so I let him handle the bulk of the interview, and he's able to read people really well.
Cool. Now if I recall correctly, you mentioned to me at some point that there's a program or a process where I guess soldiers are about to start their transition out, right? So there's a period of time where they're kind of like they can work off base, but still counted towards their end of service time type thing. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, we have one starting in August. It's called the Career Skills Program. And for up to 6 months, they can do an internship with the company. So for the last 6 months or so of their contract, they just get to come here instead of having to get up early and go to PT and do all the normal Army crap. They get to come and kind of interact in a civilian setting and get to slowly transition out of the military. We have 3 guys that work for us right now full time that came from that program, including our shop foreman and our assistant shop foreman. So it's been good to us, and it's been good to them too. It's kind of a success story for them.
Right, because you hear so many issues with veterans and transitioning into civilian world being such a challenge, right? And obviously it's different for, it's hard for me to relate coming from Israel where everybody serves. So it's kind of just the way it is. Everybody goes to the military and everybody then starts life. So here it's a little different because it's all about perception, right? So it's how society will receive you and what skills do you bring to the table. And sometimes they mesh well and sometimes they don't. I guess considering specifically what you do, there's more of an aptitude towards it in a sense, right? Because military is like, okay, we operate around knives all the time. It can be a utility tool or it can be a fighting tool. It doesn't matter, but they're familiar with them. So it seems to be a more natural transition. Am I correct on that assumption?
Yeah, generally in the military, you got to be a problem solver and be able to work with guidance, like a commander's intent of, hey, here's the mission, go do it. So most of the guys and girls show up and they can figure out pretty quickly. And we've simplified our processes to make it as easy as we can in micro steps. So each person is just doing a little parts. So that way we can get them on board and moving quickly and it builds their confidence, because it's easy to mess up a lot of the steps. Right. So we want to give them some confidence pretty quickly of like, hey, you can do this, and we give them some freedom to mess stuff up. It's kind of like shooting. If you're always perfect, you're going too slow.
Sure.
So because to be able to keep our prices where they are, we do have to move pretty quick.
Right.
So
sorry, go ahead.
We have, quality first, but speed needs to be there too. So we find that as they get more comfortable and then they get more confident, but we have such a good culture here now that it's great for guys getting out of the military. They can have a kind of a comfortable place where we can talk crap to each other all day, but everybody does it from a place of caring about each other, and everybody really wants to be here. And just when it's somebody's birthday, we always do cake for them, and we have Friday lunch every week. We shut the shop down for a day a couple weeks ago and took everybody to the range for the whole day, and we've supplied the ammo. So
very cool.
Try and have a cool place that everybody wants to be at, and it's working really well.
That's great. So you mentioned shooting, so I'm going to do a little bit of segue and get out of the shop for a little bit. So you started doing some more competitive shooting. How'd you get into that, and how are you liking it so far?
I wanted something I could do with my kids to help guide them in the direction that I think is appropriate. And it's been a blast. We've done 3 matches so far. And so far, everybody we've met is really cool. They really take to the kids being there, because we have a 9-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old shooting, and they're beating adults.
Nice.
So we have a range on our property, so we shoot at least once a week. So they're pretty comfortable around guns. So they show up. This last competition, they were running the scoring tablet and the shot timer, and they were just right there like one of the grown-ups. It's the coolest thing in the world.
That's awesome. And what kind of competitions do you do now?
We've done pistol and PCC.
Okay. What league?
We started to get into USPSA.
Have you tried the IDPA?
Not yet. Have you?
I've done a couple of the practical shooting ones, but I like the IDPA better for the few that I've done. Then I did mostly 2 guns, and then I stopped. The only competitions I do now is either tactical games type stuff, which I'm really not. The last couple I did not enjoy. I think you and I had a conversation, and if anybody of our listeners competes in those, not to put them down, I think the idea behind it was good. I think what happens is they were trying to increase the challenge to the point that it became a lot of CrossFit with a little bit of shooting, and the tactical side of it was gone. So I did not. The last competition I did, I'm in the masters because I'm old. We had to do farmer carries with 120 per hand. That's heavy weight, there was no reason. Nobody enjoyed it. I'm like, so what's the point? The competition I'm doing in August, which I'm truly looking forward to, it's my second year doing, it's called the Tactical Rescue Challenge. So there's some fitness, there's a lot of shooting, there's a medical component to it. It's actually, you do it with a partner, so there's team tactics. So I'm looking forward to that one. We got second last time we did it, so I want to win it. So and last time we went with no training, so this time we're gonna train a little bit, maybe. I don't know. We'll try. My partner is with diplomatic security, so he's all over the world all the time, so it's hard to pin him down. But I'm looking forward to that. So you've done those competitions, and you and I talked about it. One of the goals for you is to become a master in doing those. What's your training like now? So we always talk in this podcast about other silver savages and what our guests do to stay on top of their game. So what does your training look like between your fitness, your shooting, everything else that you do?
I get up every morning and work out 7 days a week. And part of my workout is always dry fire training. So I have a bunch of different targets set up all over the garage where the gym is. and I'll either bring a rifle or a pistol out there and the shot timer, and either work on just like small transitions from areas or movements. The garage is pretty big, and I can set up, like little PVC squares all over the garage so I can move from one to the other. And normally I'll do that for about 15 minutes as part of my warm up every day. And then if I have time in the evening, we'll do some dry fire together with the kids also. And then generally on the weekends, we'll go out to the range.
How does the shot fire work with dry fire? The shot timer, sorry.
I have it's called Shooters Global. So it doesn't pick up the shots. It'll pick up the first one, but I just set a par time. So it has an app. So on my phone, I can set, I want to do 10 rounds of, the timer goes off after 2 seconds, and then a par time of 6 seconds. So there'll be a beep, and then I think it's either a double beep or a longer beep when the par time is up.
Gotcha.
And then I can set the reset time. So, in 10 seconds, it'll go again for however many reps I want.
Oh, very cool. And does it show you hits? So I use the Mantis system, which also has an app, and it's a laser marker essentially. So the app actually looks at the target and tells you where you are on the target. So it times you, but it also tells you your accuracy.
No, it doesn't do any of that. But a lot of times I'm not even pulling the trigger. I'm just working on transitioning from target to target or moving in and out of a position, things like that, or mag changes.
Very cool. So if you want to know more about what's going on behind the scene, what we do day to day, from training to coaching to the people we hang out with, make sure to follow our social media: Instagram, Silver Savage Coaching, and YouTube, Silver Savage. See you on the other side. One of the things that we've been doing recently is I roped you into the Silver Savage, coaching program. So I'm gonna let's plug that in, because this is a Silver Savage podcast. So you've been actually from the beginning, and to be honest, I do appreciate that when someone like you reach out to me and say, I see you starting this, you're taking a few people, is this something that's going to be good for me? So now that you've been in it, we started in December, so 6 months. So apparently the dehumidifier decided to kick in. I am, as you can see, in my Connex. So got to keep the humidity down. All my guns are here. But, you've been in the program for 6 months now. Can you answer your own question? So I meant to ask you that, and this is a great opportunity. Did it provide any value to you?
Yeah, it's been great. It's a great group of savages like us that just are here to help each other. So every time I have a question, I can just ask it in our group, or we talk about it on the weekly calls. And having the daily goals checklist is helpful. I don't always remember to fill it out, but I remember to do the things on it.
Perfect. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So it's nice having kind of a guide of what to do. And then the intensive calls we've been doing where you're making me sit down and think about what I want.
Pretty out of you.
Difficult. Not too bad, but yeah, definitely a little bit. It's difficult, but it's definitely enlightening to know where I need to be heading and seeing the bigger picture. And that's where I'm going and kind of the steps I need to take to get there.
Awesome. I'll be honest. For sake of our listeners as well, just as much as you. So when I started this, I knew I wanted to help people. And you and I had a discussion because you have very similar goals with some of the stuff you want to do, right? And I just thought this would be a good platform. But I'm going to lie, if I wouldn't say that there was a little bit of an imposter syndrome there. Who am I? Especially when people of your caliber come with your background being a tier 1 operator and you're running a business already that's successful. Like, what can I help you with, right? But 6 months into it, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with it because obviously I found that I can certainly add some value, if nothing else, than being a sounding board, right, to some of your questions and help you navigate some of the problems. I may not have the answers, but I can help you find out what not to do, which is sometimes just as important.
Yeah, awesome. Definitely. No, it's been a huge help.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I certainly appreciate having you and your wife Meagan on the group. So since I brought Meagan up, and kind of did on purpose, so hope you don't hate me, but one of the challenges for me historically was working with my significant other. Is she there? Is she next to you? Okay.
No. Oh, she is actually. No,
Right.
do you want her to?
I mean, if you could edit it out.
It just brought you up.
Oh,
No, that's fine.
She just got done working out.
You can tell her to jump in, and I'll have her on the podcast as well if she wants to. But this is the thing. So,
do you want to be on it real quick or not?
I mean, not particularly, but
She will.
You're
Here,
right.
whatever. I want.
No, I need both of you. I need both of you.
Oh, you need. Okay.
Yeah, just unplug it. Just unplug the headphones. There we go.
Still hear me?
I can hear you. Hey, Megan. You're on TV. Smile. All right. So I was just asking Chris.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yep. Perfect. Awesome. All right. So I was just about to ask Chris. I was saying historically so I'm on my fourth wife because keep trying to get better at this marriage game. But always not always. My ex-wife and my current wife work in the business with me. And you got to learn how to set certain boundaries. How is that? I would love to get both your perspective for sake of our other listeners. And you can be honest or not honest. You can decide. But what is it like to work with your spouse?
Yeah, that would with my spouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fine most of the time. Sometimes it's like I don't want to be around you 24/7, but most of the time it's not a big deal. His ex-wife, hard stop. Absolutely not. There's absolutely no way.
No, we work together pretty well. We're a pretty well-oiled machine these days.
That's awesome.
And then we get to travel. You're going to shake the computer, baby. We get to travel to all the trade shows together, which is really cool. And then we get to always eat a whole bunch of good food. That's my favorite part.
Yeah. I'm not a very good independent worker. I know I told you before that I worked in a restaurant for a really long time. So I am very used to being told what to do, when to do it, where to do it, how to do it, everything. So independent, working for myself was not something that I was really good at. So Chris is kind of conditioned to come in. He gives me a list of things to do because I need that structure. That's why when we did real estate, it was not for me. I'm not good at finding my own work, doing my own things. It's just not my strong suit. And I know that. And I think he knows that too. So.
But she can solve the problems that I bring to her. And
That's awesome. So knowing your roles is important, right? So let me ask you another question because I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of your business because that's not for public consumption, I guess. But how do you guys separate professional life from personal life? Because that was always a challenge for me. And it's actually a question that came up on a few listeners and other entrepreneurs that I work with, specifically when they work with a significant other. How do you separate? Because to your point, Megan, you are 24/7 with the same person. How do you guys?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for us too because our business is at our house. So
yeah.
If we didn't set really clear boundaries, we would just stay out here working all the time, every weekend, and we would just never do anything else. Chris doesn't know how to stop. So
we generally don't, if it's during the workday, we don't really have personal things involved. We learned that, we can't, especially me, if I'm working, then I'm working. So we can't talk about what we're doing on the weekend or something that's.
And I'll still do it sometimes, and I'll be like, "Hey, what do you think about?" And he's like, "Hey, let's talk about it later." I'm working. All right, whatever. And then we always forget to talk about it, but it's and then I'll bring it up again, and I'm like, "But we were gonna talk about it, and we forgot." And then generally too, we keep it so that I do all the appointments with the kids because you have a bunch of kids, so so-and-so's got therapy on this day every single week. So-and-so's got allergy shots twice a week, every week for half the year. So dentist appointment, orthodontist now. It's a never ending with the children. So I try and do all of the kid appointments. So that way that's not even something that he has to worry about.
Right. If you had, so this is for Megan. So Chris, you keep your mouth shut for a second. So if you could give one advice to our listeners, in terms of working with a significant other, from from the wife standpoint, like if you were talking to me right now to give me advice on how to deal with Tyler, right? What advice would you give me?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for us is just clear boundaries.
Okay.
At 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever time you decide that's the end of the workday. That's it. Oh, an email came through. There's a customer who needs something. It is 8 o'clock at night. We are sitting in bed watching TV. Like, I'm not responding to this email at 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday. It's just not, we're in relax mode. We don't need to be put back into business mode. And then probably, you know, we have clear boundaries too in like our relationship as well. So like the kids are in summer school now. So I generally cook dinner every single night, but Chris doesn't like to drive to summer camp. So he stays home and now he cooks dinner and I go get the kids from summer camp. So like just having clear boundaries in the business and in personal, I think is pretty important.
And communicating about them, right? So not assuming that the other person can guess what you want or need, right? So
and I'll say, oh, I have to go get the kids from summer camp. And he'll say, well, do you want me to go do it today? And I'm like, no, I know you don't like doing that. So just cook dinner.
And then me and our oldest cook dinner together and it's fun.
Yep.
Perfect. See, that's what we're making kitchen knives.
Yeah.
I know, I can't wait. It's always fun though, like when I had surgery and Chris was like, oh my God, I just worked all day and now I have to cook dinner too. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you want to eat, yeah.
Welcome to my world.
Sorry, friend.
Right. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate you stopping by.
Oh, of course.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Almost done.
Yeah, please go put them to bed.
Are you making dinner? What's for dinner? You know what I took out of this whole thing, Chris? Oh, I'll wait for you to put the headphones back on.
What's that?
You know what I took out of that whole thing? The fact that you
What's
guys
that?
are actually in bed by 8 o'clock. I'm a little jealous.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's 7:40 right now. Normally we've started putting the kids to bed about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. My 2.5-year-old, tonight she's asleep, which is a fluke. Usually she'll stay up till about 10:30 at night. She doesn't want to go to sleep. And then she'll be up at 5 in the morning. I mean, I don't know where she gets it from. It's absolutely ridiculous. Awesome. Chris, last parting words, so I can free you to go to dinner. What is one lesson you can share with the listener? One thing you want him to take away, and then I also want you to leave all your social media information so people can follow Stroup Knives. But if you could share with people one nugget, what would it be?
Just be a good human. That should be your filter for everything. If it doesn't pass through that filter, then don't do it, no matter what it is. If it's going to get you ahead or make you a bunch of money, but it makes you not feel like a good human, then don't do it.
Right.
And have fun. Everything should be generally fun. Things are going to be stressful, but just be a good human and be nice to people and have fun. Do cool stuff, shoot guns, get off the couch.
Love it. Love all of that. It's funny. I do these intensives with you and with some of the other coaching clients. One thread that I saw across the board is, even though you're all driven entrepreneurs and everybody obviously wants their businesses to grow and succeed, the ethical underlying, parameters and the criteria by which we judge collectively, because I do the same thing, what's worth our attention and what's worth pursuing, what doesn't. It's so unique, because I've been part of other coaching groups, and I am part of other coaching groups right now where I'm trying to learn from others. And so many people would sacrifice everybody they know and anything they have just to make another buck. And I love that, be a good human. That's super important. Love it. All right. If people want to follow Stroup Knives, what's the best way for them to do so?
Follow us on Instagram, stroup.knives. We're pretty active on there. I try and post every day. We've got cool pictures and reels and, us working in the shop, and we try and have fun with it. So follow us on there, please. I'd appreciate it. And If you want to check out our knives, go to our website, stroupknives.com.
Cool. What's your next big show?
Gun Owners of America in August in Kentucky. It's their first annual event, and it's supposed to be a big one.
Interesting. In Kentucky in August. Try to check it out, see if I can make it.
Kentucky? Maybe Tennessee. I think Tennessee. Sorry.
It's the same. Don't worry about it.
Okay, it's somewhere. It's somewhere within driving distance of me. So
Nice.
it sounds like a great event. It's going to be not quite as big as SHOT Show, but a little bit smaller and open to the public. So it should be good. Come
Cool.
see us.
I will certainly try, and hopefully some of our listeners will. Well, Chris, always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for taking time from your evening to join us. And, good luck with kitchen knives and folders and everything else that you're doing. And my new dagger that's coming out soon.
Yeah, we've been working on it. Yep.
All right. Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, PK.
You be safe. Have a good night.
Chris from Stroup Knives. I want to introduce you guys to the Desert Fox. This knife is special to me because when it was just me making knives in a garage a bunch of years ago, my friend BK from Masada Tactical was like, hey man, can you make me 100 of these? So imagine me just learning how to make knives, having to make 100 of these by hand. It was a pretty big undertaking, but that was the first thing that really showed we could do this as a business. So this knife is cool. BK was Israeli Special Forces, and he designed this for his clients that are all law enforcement and military personnel, EMTs, things like that. So it's 3/16 inch thick, 1095. It's got pretty aggressive jimping here. This thing is very robust. It's just a great knife for self-defense and for all kinds of tasks, everyday carry. You can see it fits really nice in your hand. It's got a, whatever you want to call this thing here, for smashing stuff. Like all of our knives, it comes with a Kydex sheath. Nice retention. It's not going to come out, and it comes with a Tech Glock belt clip. So that's the Desert Fox.